Dividing IDS, firewalls and honeypots. Now, first, IDS, intrusion detection system, and their placement. Now, first, intrusion detection system. What is IDS? IDS is actually a device or a software which can detect different kind of attacks or different kind of intrusions. So this is an intrusion detection system. It is called IDS. It inspects all inbound and outbound network traffic. So it inspects all inbound, what is incoming, what is coming inside to our network, and outbound, which is going out from our network. It will inspect all the traffic, and it will inspect for the suspicious patterns that may indicate a network or a system security breach. So it try to inspect about whatever the traffic which is coming inside or going outside. It checks that whether any suspicious pattern is there or not. Suspicious pattern, like when someone try to do different kind of attacks. So it has a unique it has all those information about the suspicious patterns. So the IDS checks the traffics for signatures that matches known intrusion patterns and signals an alarm when a match is found. So it has the signature about the different type of malicious or suspicious traffic or pattern. So it has the signature and try to match it with the attack or the traffic which is coming in or going out. And if something it is found that it is not it is a suspicious thing or a malicious thing, then it will signal the alarm, and it will send the alarm, drop the packets, send the alarm, generate the alarm to administrator. Now where it is going to be placed? So it is going to placed with the firewall. Like this is the internet, and after the internet we have a router which is connecting our network to the internet, and then after the internet we will have a firewall, and with the firewall we can have the IDS and IPS both. So IDS is intrusion detection system, and IPS is basically intrusion prevention system. So both will be there with the firewall. Then we get the DMZ zone. Now this is a different architecture of firewall, setup of firewall, where we have two firewalls, and in between we have the DMZ zone, and then we have the internal server farm, and then the users are there which is using the internal servers. So basically this IDS will always remain with the firewall. Now how this IDS works? So very simple, it will try to match the pattern or signature of the pattern, like whatever the attacker can do. So it has all the signatures about those type of attacks, and then whenever whenever any traffic comes in or goes out, it will check and it will try to match the pattern. So what it do here? So as we see the design here, this is internet, and all the traffic is coming from the internet going to the internet. They have to go through the firewall first, and after the firewall it will go to the IDS system. Now IDS will do what? First it will signature file comparison. It will do the signature file comparison, and it has a database of all the signatures. So it will try to match the signature of all the traffic which is coming in or going out. Now if any match found, then what it will do here? When it matched, so what it will do here? It will do all these things. First it will do the log server, it will generate the logs, and then alarm the notification, alarm the notify admin, and packet can be dropped. So it will generate the alarm, send the notification to the admin, and packet will be dropped. Then connections are cut down from that IP source. So the source which is the packet which is coming from that source, it will cut the connection from that, and then packet is dropped. Now if it is not matched, now signature is not matched, then what it will do? It will do the anomaly detection. Now anomaly detection, if it is matched again, then it will do the same rules. This is the rules for it. So it will follow the rule. It will generate the logs, and send the admin to notification and then cut the connection and drop the packet. If it is not detected, the anomaly detection is not there, then what it will try to check the stateful protocol analysis. And again, if it is matched, then again it will do these things, and if it is not matched, then the data will be transferred to the internal network through the switch, and then it will go to the enterprise network and in the internal network. Now, ways to detect an intrusion. So first is the signature recognition. So for signature, it is also known as a misuse detection. Signature recognition try to identify events that indicates misuse of system resources. So it will have, every attack has a unique signature. So whatever attacker will do, like it is doing the scanning attack, it is trying to do the denial of service attack, it will try to do the exploit attack. So whatever the attack they do or attacker do, it has a unique signature. So it will try to match it, and if it is matched, then it will do the rules, it will follow the rules. Now the next is anomaly detection. In this, it detects the intrusion based on the fixed behavioral characteristic of the users and components in a computer system. Like in a computer system, whatever the user or system or component we have in this computer, they intended to do something, and if they are not doing that, if they are trying to do something else, that means it is having some kind of problem. For example, suppose it is a normal text file, but it is not a text. The text file is doing something else, like it is working like an execution file. So it can be a anomaly fail. It can be a problem. So what it can do, it will detect that, and based on that detection, it will do what? It will follow the action rule and then generate the log, generate notification, and then cut the connection and drop the packet. Then next is the protocol anomaly detection. In this type of detection, models are built on explore anomalies in the way vendors deploy the TCP/IP specifications. Like protocols should do what it intend to do, like if FTP is there, so FTP should do the FTP work, it should not do anything else. Attacker do this, like attacker craft the packet, it encapsulate the packet of the different protocol into different protocols so that it can bypass the firewall. So it will do that, and it can be detected in the IDS. But with this protocol anomaly detection, if suppose a protocol is encapsulated under different protocol, that means it do something else. It says that this is the protocol, but it do something other protocol. So it can be detected by the IDS by using protocol anomaly detection. Then general indication of intrusions. What is the indication of intrusion? First, system intrusion. The presence of new unfamiliar files or programs. Now sometimes suppose you see the system, in the system you see the presence of new or unfamiliar files or even a program. That might be a chances of system intrusion. Then changes in file permissions. File permission may also change. Then unexplained changes in a file size also. So sometime when attacker try to hide some malicious files into some different files, then the size may be increased. Then raw files on the system that do not correspond to your master list of signed files. That means the unique file there which was not there available, which was not there previously when we did the signing of and it is not signed also. So unfamiliar file name in the directories also, like unfamiliar file names and directory you see, missing files you see. So these are the indication of the system intrusion. Network intrusion, indication of network intrusion is repeated probes of the available services on your machine. So whatever the service is running there, the related repeated probes are coming very quickly for checking the services. Then connection from unusual locations. Then repeated login attempts from remote hosts. Arbitrary data in log files indicating attempts to cause a denial of service or to crush a service. Arbitrary, that means suddenly increase of the traffic, suddenly increase of these, and all you will see in the logs also. Arbitrary logs are generated into the log files so that it can do the denial of service by fulfilling the log file size. Like it try to fulfill the hard disk size of the logs so that there is no place to write anything else, and then it is trying to do the denial of service attack. These type of intrusion we can detect, or these are the indication we can say about the network in general, the system and network intrusions. So general indication of system intrusion is short or incomplete logs, unusual graphic display or text messages, unusually slow system performance, modification to system software and configuration files, missing logs or log with incorrect permission or ownerships. This happens when the attacker tried to clear the tracks, then system crashes or reboots because of viruses or worms, then gaps in the system accounting, then unfamiliar processes. That is because of the Trojans. These are the indication of system intrusion. Then types of intrusion detection system. We have network-based intrusion detection system and we have host-based intrusion detection system. Now network-based means this mechanism typically consists of a black box that is placed on the network in the Prometheus mode and listening for pattern indicative of an intrusion. It detects malicious activity such as denial of service attack, port scans, or even attempts to crack into computer by monitoring network traffic. So this is what network based, where it is sitting into the in a place like a black box. It is sitting in the place and it will keep monitoring the network for different kind of intrusion attacks. And it is a single host. Then host based intrusion system means this mechanism usually includes auditing for events that occur on a specific host, and these are not as common due to the overhead they occur by having to monitor each system event. That means this one means host based means we have to monitor each and every host separately. So host based means we have the intrusion software or intrusion detection software we have in all the hosts available. Now it is not usually used, or it is not used usually because it is giving you the overhead of checking every machine system events. So we have to monitor every machine separately for the intrusion. So that is why this is not used normally. Normally uses network based intrusion detection system. Normally use the type of network based IDS, because it uses the single, or we can say it sits in a network in a place, mostly in a gateway besides the firewall, and try to monitor all the traffic and try to match the intrusion patterns. System integrity verifiers, SysV. This system integrity verifier detects changes in critical system components, which helps in detecting system intrusion. And this SIVs compares a snapshot of the file system with an existing baseline snapshot. This is, we can say, this is a tripwire. Tripwire is a software. You can see the screenshot of the tripwire software. It is a type of SIV. It is system integrity verifier. It do what? It will take a snapshot of our file system and compare it with the normal snapshot of the normal file system. Like our installation drive is C drive, where we have installed the Windows 10. Now it will have this tripwire has a clean, we can say it have a snapshot of a clean Windows 10 installation, and then what it will do, it will take a snapshot of our Windows 10 and then it will try to match with the clean Windows 10 snapshot and then our snapshot, and if it is there something problem is there, then it can show you that these files are modified, these files are changed, or this file should not be there, this program should not be there, or whatever. So it will check the system integrity. Now firewalls. After IDS, the next thing is for the security is firewalls. Now firewalls are the hardware or software designed to prevent unauthorized access to or from a private network. So very simple, firewall's job is to prevent unauthorized access from or to our network, and it can be a hardware or it can be a software also. Firewall examine all messages entering or leaving the intranet and blocks those that do not meet the specified security criteria. So on firewalls we create the specified criteria that what is allowed and what is not allowed, and it will monitor, it will do what, it will examine all the message entering and going out of our network, and it will try to match those criteria which we create, and then based on that criteria it will allow or deny those traffic. So firewall may be concerned with the type of traffic or with the source or destination address and port. So basically firewalls do what? They only do the traffic filtering based on the destination and source IP and port number. Then they are placed at the junction or gateway between the network, between two networks, which is usually a private network and a public network such as the internet. So mostly a firewall sits on the gateway from where we are going from our private network to the public network, that is internet. So it sits on the gateway where all the network traffic will go from our private network to the public network, that is internet, and then it will do the examination of all the messaging entering or leaving the internet. So whatever we configured, so it will only allow those traffic, and the traffic which we don't allow, it will drop all those traffic. So specified traffic will be allowed and restricted unknown traffic will be denied, and that is what we have to configure it on firewall. Now these are the different firewall structures we have. First, basin host, screen subnet and multi-homed firewall. Now first, basin host means what? In this, basin host is a computer system designed and configured to protect network resources from attack, and traffic entering or leaving the network passes through the firewall. It has two interfaces: public interface directly connected to the internet and private interface connected to the intranet. So as you see in the image, the basin host is actually a normal computer which can be which we use as a firewall. It has two interfaces. One interface is connected to the public network internet, and one interface is connected to the intranet, that is our internal network. And whatever the traffic going through with this, we configure the rules here, and it will allow or deny, it will do the allow or deny. Then we have screen subnet. In this architecture, the screen subnet, or we can say DMZ, it is an additional zone, contains hosts that offer public services. Now what happened here, in DMZ zones, it responds to the public request and has no host accessed by the private network. Private zone cannot be accessed by internet users. Now basically what we have in an organization, we have mail servers, web servers, file servers and all that. Now those servers are also, suppose the user wanted to access those servers from the internet, so they want to access that from the internet. So if you have all of that into a single intranet, then a user who's accessing from the internal network, they can get the same server, and from the internet, or the user which is accessing from the internet will also get the same server. Now it is not secure because the user from the internet can access your internal server. Now for security reasons, what the administrator design in network administrator design, what a DMZ zone. In DMZ zone, it is called demilitarized zone. In this zone, they put all the servers which is publicly accessible servers. That means if the user wants to access a web server, so the server which is accessible from the internet will be kept into this demilitarized zone. Now this server is separated from our intranet server, our internal network server. In our internal network server, we have a different web server which is used to access into the internal network. But the server which is we want the other users to access from internet, these servers we keep into the demilitarized zone, DMZ zone. So all the servers which we want the internet user can access, so we put them onto this demilitarized zone. Now they don't have any connection with the intranet servers, so that if attacker try to attack on the web server to get the access of our internal resources, it will not get, because the server which it can get only is the server from DMZ zone. So it can get the server only from DMZ zone and it can reach up to this zone. Now this zone, whatever the server we have, mail server, web server, file server, whatever the servers we have here, they are already publicly accessible server. So we made them as a publicly accessible server, so whatever you do on them, it will remain there. They don't have any connection to the intranet servers. So in screen subnet, we have a single firewall which is connected to internet, intranet and also DMZ zone. So if the internet user wants to go to DMZ zone, it will only go to DMZ zone, it will not go to intranet. And if it wants to go to intranet, then the firewall decides that it will go to this side. And internal users, if they want to go outside, they can go directly from here. There is only one firewall in between which is connecting all these internet, DMZ and intranet together. Mostly private zone cannot be accessed by internet users. So internet users can only access the DMZ zone. Then we have multi-homed firewall. In this case, a firewall with two or more interfaces is present that allow further subdivision of the network based on the specific security objective of the organization. Now in this we can have two firewalls, like one is to go to DMZ zone, and if we want to go to intranetwork, then we have to go through the other firewall also. So two firewalls are there which is filtering the traffic. One is filtering the traffic for DMZ and intranet, and then the second one is for filtering the traffic for intranet. It is called multi-homed firewall. And these are the firewall architectures. So what is DMZ zone? It is demilitarized zone. It is also called demilitarized zone, DMZ zone, and it is a network that serves as a buffer between the internal secure network and insecure internet. So basically it provides the buffer between the internet and intranet. So our internal network and the external network, that is internet. So whoever wants to connect our server, they will get the access till our DMZ zone servers. It can be created using firewall with 3 or more network interfaces, like screen subnet network. In the image you can see with 3 or more network interfaces assigned with specific rules, such as internal internet trusted network, DMZ network, and external untrusted network. So we can have 3 interfaces in the firewall which is connected to all these 3 things, and one is like for internet, DMZ, and one is for the internal network. Now what type of firewalls we have? So we have packet filtering firewalls, we have circuit level gateways, and also we have application level gateways, and we have stateful multi-layer inspection firewall. So first, packet filtering firewall. Now packet filtering firewall works at the network layer of the OSI model or the IP layer of TCP/IP. They are usually a part of a router. So basically the packet filtering firewall normally works on router, basically part of the router, and they work on network layer. And then in a packet filtering firewall, each packet is compared to a set of criteria before it is forwarded. And criteria, that means depending on the packet and the criteria, the firewall can drop and the drop the packet and forward it or send a message to the originator. So rules can include the source and destination IP addresses, the source and the destination port number, and the protocol used. So this packet filtering firewall can only see these three things. These three things, that means source and destination IP addresses, source and destination port numbers, and also the protocol which is used. So port number basically decides the port number. Port number basically decides the protocol is used. Destination port number. So it can only see the source and destination IP address. So whatever the rule we create here in this packet filtering firewall, those rules are simply depend on this source and destination IP address and port number, and also the protocol which is used. It is like we create in routers, in Cisco router we create access control list. So that access control list, when we create those rules, we convert our router to work as a packet filtering firewall. So our router can also work as a packet filtering firewall. So traffic allowed based on source and destination IP address, packet type, and the port number, and also it will be disallowed by the same criteria. So it will only allow the traffic which we configure to allow, and it will deny the traffics which we don't, which will configure to deny. Then we have circuit level gateway firewalls. Now these circuit level gateway firewalls work at the session layer of the OSI model, or the TCP IP layer, TCP layer of the TCP/IP. This works. The information passed to a remote computer through a circuit level gateway appears to have originated from the gateway. So the information passed to the remote computer through the circuit level gateway appears to have originated from the gateway. So the remote device will feel like it is coming from the gateway device. They monitor requests to create session and determine if those session will be allowed. So it manages the session actually. So circuit level manages the circuit sessions. So when the TCP connection establishes, it created the sessions. So this circuit level gateway actually monitors those sessions. And then circuit proxy firewalls allow or prevent data streams. They do not filter individual packets, and they don't filter individual packet. Basically individual packets will be filtered by the packet filtering firewall. This circuit level firewall's job is to manage the circuit level sessions. So this allow the traffic based on the session rules, and such as when a session is initiated by a recognized computer or not. So it only know that this session, this machine is allowed to do this session or not, or this machine is allowed to do the session or not, and based on that it will disallow the traffic also. Then we have application level firewall. Now this application level firewall, we can also say it gateways, or we can also say it proxies. Basically the proxy servers which we use, it works like a application level firewall. It can filter the packet at the application layer of the OSI model, or the application layer of TCP/IP, and incoming and outgoing traffic is restricted to service supported by proxy. All other service requests are denied. So it works, the proxy server, basically the proxy server is also an application level firewall, because the proxy application which we use, it is actually an application, and it do the filtering based on the services supported by the proxy. That means HTTP traffic, FTP traffic, these traffics are supported by the proxy servers. So it do the filtering for those kind of traffic. Now proxy means we create a proxy for the HTTP, FTP, or other web services, so that all the client can go to internet through the proxy server, and if they all going from the proxy server, that means the proxy server will be sitting on the gateway. So it is also called application level gateway. and there we can configure the rules. So application level gateways configured as a web proxy prohibit FTP, Gopher, Telnet or other traffic. Application level gateways examine traffic and filter on application specific commands such as HTTP post and GET request. So it will do what? Filtering based on the host, based on the URL access, based on the post and GET request of HTTP. So traffic allowed based on the specified applications such as a browser or a protocol such as FTP or combinations of that, and also it will deny those traffic which is not allowed. Then we have stateful multi-layer inspection firewall. Now this firewall do what? As we saw, packet filtering firewall only look for the packet, individual packet. That means only work on network layer, that is source and destination IP address, and source and destination IP address it checks and port number it checks. Then this circuit level firewall only checks the circuits, only checks the session establishment. And application level firewall only works on the application layer. Now this stateful multi-layer inspection firewall, it do what? It combines the aspects of the other three types of firewalls, and they filter packets at the network layer of the OSI model or the IP layer of TCP/IP to determine whether session packets are legitimate, and they evaluate the content of packet at the application layer also. So basically it works on all those three layers. That means it can work as a packet filtering firewall, then circuit firewall, circuit level firewall, and also application level firewall. That is why it is called stateful multi-layer inspection firewall. So this, it can filter the traffic at three layers based on wide range of the specified application, session and packet filtering rules. Now the next thing is honeypot. This honeypot is an information system resource that is expressly set up to attract and trap people who attempt to penetrate on organization network. This one is just like a honeypot. Like when you see the honeypot, you see the honey there, but there are some honey bees are also there. So when anyone try to get the honey, it looks very attractive, but when you touch it, then what you will see? You will feel the honey bees also. Those honey bees will bite you and show you what is honey. So it is just like that. It is a network honeypot. It do what? It set up to attract and trap the people. That means it has no authorized activity. It does not have any production values, and any traffic to it is likely a probe, attack or compromise. So it does not have any authorized activity, does not have any production values, does not have any traffic to it. So it only used to do the probing attack or compromising. The honeypot can log port access attempts or monitor an attacker keystrokes. This could be early warning of a more concerned attack. Basically it looks like a very much vulnerable system. Now basically what you have two servers. If you can see here in the design, you have one web server and one honeypot. Now web server is our real server and honeypot is a trap. Now when attacker try to scan the system, what it sees here, that there are two servers there, but one server is looking like secure server, but the other server is looking very unsecure, and this can be we can do some attack on it. And that is what it is, a fake honeypot server. It has no security, it is or less security, and the protocols are running there which is not required or which is vulnerable also. So attacker will do what? Instead of attacking on the real server, it will attack on the honeypot server. Now honeypot server will do what? It will log all the port access attempts, what is the attacker doing, and also monitor. It can also monitor an attacker's keystrokes also. It log all the different type of attacks which this attacker do, and then what, it will be a early warning for the organization that someone is trying to have an attack, trying to do the attack on it. So when suppose the attacker try to do the denial of service attack, so the organization can know by watching the logs, it can understand that how much attack this attacker can do, what is the source addresses it is using, and even it can show the botnets it is using. So we can design our firewall, we can design our filtering, so based on that source addresses, that these addresses are not allowed, or something like that. So it can give us it can give the organization a chance of saving the real servers. So attacker will attack on honeypots so that our real servers can be secured. Now what type of honeypots we have? We have two: low interaction honeypot and high interaction honeypot. Low interaction honeypot means these honeypots simulate only a limited number of services and applications of a target system or network, and cannot be compromised completely. Generally set to collect higher level information about attack vectors such as network probes and worm activities. We have these different softwares to configure this honeypot: Spectre, we have Honeyed, we have KF Sensor. These are the tools we have to configure the honeypot. Now this low interaction means it looks like a secure server. It is not look like that it can be compromised completely. So that if attacker wants to compromise this server, it has to do the high level attack. And when the attacker do the high level attack, it is going to inform the organization administrator that what type of different attack this attacker can do. Now high interaction honeypot means this honeypot simulates all services and applications, can be completely compromised by attackers to get full access to the system in a control area, capture complete information about an attack vector, such attack techniques, tools, and intent of the attack. We have semantic decoy server and honeynets. These are also tools which we can use to configure the high interaction honeypots, and it will detect and it will log and it will get the information about the attacker. Complete information it will capture. Now what are the solutions we have for IDS firewalls and honeypots? Now first we have intrusion detection tool which is called Snoot. This Snoot is an open source network intrusion detection system. Open source, that means it is available freely. We say it free, but it is not actually free. Remember always, open source, that does not mean it is free. Open source, that means the source was open, so they will not force us to buy. They will give you the community edition, but if you want the advanced one, then you have to purchase it. Now community editions, that means you have to make your own rules and everything, and in advanced version, like, you will get everything ready to use like this. So this Snoot is an open source network intrusion detection system. It is capable of performing real-time traffic analysis and packet logging on IP networks. It can perform protocol analysis and content searching matching also, and is used to detect a variety of attack and probes such as buffer overflow, stealth port scanning, CGI attack, assembly probes, and OS fingerprinting attempts. It can detect all of these different type of attack. It uses a flexible rules language to describe traffic that it should collect or pass, as well as a detection engine that utilize a modular plugin architecture. So it has a simple rules where you can configure the rule to detect the different type of attacks. And it also has a plugin modulars for detection engines. Uses of Snoot is straight packet sniffer like TCP dump. It is just as if you see it, it is just a sniffer like the TCP dump, Wireshark, just like that. But it can do the packet logger, useful for network traffic debugging, etc., and It is also a network intrusion prevention system. Now when we see the rules of the Snoot, so it is look like this. Snoot's rules engine enables custom rule to meet the need of the network. Snoot rules help in differentiating between normal internet activities and malicious activities. Snoot rules must be contained on a single line. The Snoot rule parser does not handle rules on multiple lines. So rules will go only in single line. Then Snoot rules comes with two logical part. First, rule header that identifies the rules action such as alert, log, pass, activate, dynamic, etc. And the rule option that identifies the rules alert message. As you see here, what we have is this a single a rule example of the rule, where you have the rule action first, which is saying alert. That means the rule is going to alert, it is not going to log or pass. Now rule protocol, here it is defining the protocol is TCP. Then here it is mentioning any. Now any, that means it is, you see the direction here first, rule format direction. Now format direction, that means internal or outside external. That means it is the rule for inbound traffic or outbound traffic. So this arrow decides which sides the traffic we are going to create. The rules are created for which side traffic. Now here it is saying any, that means it is for the outside network. Now outside network, any source and any port number. It is like any, that any means any for any IP and any port which is coming inside. This is the rule format direction, and inside it is saying the rules IP address, like for inside network and this port. And then here it is saying the content. So content, that means this is the signature here first, and then this is the message. This is a signature for a mounted access attack. And then here alert message. In this it is saying the message. So if it sees this kind of content, so it will do what? It will send this message, mounted access, as a alert. As a alert it will generate this message. So same as this, we have multiple rules for different attacks. So in Snoot rules we have two things, rule action and IP protocol first. So first, rules action. This rule action, this rule header stores a complete set of rules to identify a packet and determine the action to be performed or what rule to be applied. The rule action alerts Snoot when it finds a packet that matches the rule criteria. So three available actions in Snoot are alert, log and pass. Alert means generate an alert using the selected alert method and then log the packet. And in log, it only log the packet and does not alert the does not generate the alert. Pass means it will drop and ignore the packet without logging it. It will always log, but without generating the alert. Then IP protocols. So it supports these protocols, three available protocols that Snoot support for species behavior: TCP, UDP and ICMP. And this is the three protocol which is used to do the all kind of transmission. So basically it supports all these three protocols. Snoot rules, that is the direction operator and the IP address. So again, the direction operators, this operator indicates the direction of interest for the traffic, and traffic can follow in either single direction or bidirectional. Example of this Snoot rule using the bidirectional operator is this. Bidirectional operator, that means it is telling about both the direction, inside or outside, both. If you want to go for the inside, then you will go wide like this side arrow, left side arrow. If you want to go for outside, you will say it right side arrow. So here it is mentioning the IP address and the port number. Port number for it is saying any, and IP address and port number for this, whether it is coming in or coming out. It is called bidirectional. Then IP address, that means identifying the IP address and port that our rule applies to. Use keyword any to define any IP address. Use numeric IP addresses qualified with CIDR netmask. For example, the IP address negotiation rule is this, where you can see the IP address here with the CIDR value, and for port number it is using any. Now any means all. or you can mention the port number. We can also mention the any for IP address also, like from any IP address. Like in this rule, what it is saying here, that from any external IP to any external port, when they come inside for this network and for this port, and the content will be this, then do this. Do this what? Alarm, and generate this message. So this is what snoot rules we have. Then for port numbers of in snoot rules, so port numbers can be listed in different ways. First, including any ports, that means static port definition, port ranges, and by negation. Port ranges are indicated with the range operator. Range operator is this colon. So if we want to indicate a single port, then we can mention the single port. We can say any means for all the ports, and also if we want to mention the range of the port, so we can mention the range of the ports also by using this range operator. Like for example, we can see here it is saying from 6000 to 6010, and from outside any IP any port to inside this network, and port number from 6000 to 6010. Now one more thing you can see here, like log UDP any to IP address this, and the range of the port number it is saying here 1 to 1024. Now what it do here, it will log the UDP traffic coming from any port and destination port ranging from 1 to 1024. For example, this log TCP any to this network with 5000, and see it is not giving the starting range. Now that means what? Log TCP traffic from any port going to port less than or equal to 5000. That means it is in this side, means what? It is less than or equal to. Then in this side, like log TCP less than any port number 1024 to this network 4000 colon. That means what? In this side, when you give 4400 here, any number of port, that means what? Log TCP traffic from the well-known ports and going to port greater than or equal to 400. So if we give colon this side, that means less than or equal to, and in this side it means greater than or equal to. This is the port rules. So just like Snoot, we have the other intrusion detection system also available. Snoot is command line. This one is graphical. It is called tipping point. This tipping point is IPE. Tipping point IPS is an inline threat protection that defends critical data and application without affecting performance and productivity. It contains over 8,700 security filters written to address zero day and known vulnerabilities. So it has the database signature for the known vulnerabilities also. Snoot will also have a Snoot signature database where it can match the signature. So it actually has some rules defined there as a database for the known signatures. Just like that, this is a graphical tool where it has a different vulnerability signatures and filters available, and it can do filter inline thread protections. Then just like the Snoot and these tipping wire, we have these other tools also available as a intrusion detection system tools. We can use these other tools also depending on our type or requirement. We have the intrusion detection tools for mobiles also. We have Wi-Fi intrusion detection tool. We have Wi-Fi intruder detector pro. We have Wi-Fi inspector also. These are available for mobiles. So after IDS, we have firewall solutions also, like Zone Alarm Pro Firewall 2015. This is also this monitors programs for suspicious behavior, spotting and stopping new attacks that bypass the traditional antivirus protection. It makes your PC visible to hacker and stops spyware from sending your data to invisible to hacker and send stops spyware from sending your data out to the internet. Now this is a software firewall, but we can also have the hardware firewalls. So there is one more firewall software is there is Comodo firewall. This keeps you update on all suspicious files. Prevention based technology is stop viruses also. Automatic updates for the most current protection. So it also has a signature database which is updated automatically every time, which is the current protection. Then we have these other firewall tools available which we can use as a firewall. These are all software based firewalls we can use. We can use some hardware firewalls like Cisco ASA. We have firewall for the hardware firewall device. Then we have firewalls for mobile also. We have Android firewall and firewall IP. These are available for Android devices, which we can use as a firewall for our mobile devices also. And also we have these other tools for mobile firewall. Then for honeypot, we have honeypot tools as KF sensor and Spectre. This KF sensor is host based intrusion detection system IDS that act as a honeypot to attract and detect the hackers and worms by simulating vulnerable system services and trojans. So basically this is a intrusion detection system which can also act as a honeypot to lure the attackers, and when the attacker attacks on this it will detect and it will log everything. Spectre is a smart honeypot based intrusion detection system that offers common internet services such as SMTP, FTP, POP3, HTTP and Telnet, which appears perfectly normal to the attacker but in fact are trap. This is also like a intrusion detection system which also work like a honeypot to attract the attackers. And then we have these other honeypot tools also available which we can use. Honeybot, Kojoni, Petritboss, Labri, lots of other tools we have. And also we have honeypot tool for mobile, Hostagi. That Hostagi is generic honeypot for mobile device that aim on the detection of malicious wireless network environments. As most malware propagate over the network via specific protocols, a low interaction honeypot located at a mobile device can check wireless networks for activity propagating malware also.